All right, starting where we left off in the last video, I do want to show you that I changed my text file. Okay, I'm using the same numbers, but I've mixed them up. I've mixed up their order. So it's 25, 10, 45, 40, 50, 30, 35, 20, 15, and 5. You can mix yours up as well, but it's important for this one. I'm going to write an algorithm to find the highest number in an array. So when I load my array, I'm going to load it. I didn't want to load it in order. I wanted to load it out of order so that you can see how the process works a little bit more clearly. All right, so let's go down here and write a method. We're going to write a method. Let's call it find highest number. Oop. What am I thinking here? Okay. Find highest number is the name of my method, and to use it, I need to pass in my array, so that I have to say it needs a parameter to hold it. And I'm just going to call it number array. I want to make it clear that these parameter values that we use are only important to the method that's using them. Okay. We could use number array in all cases, or we could use a different value in each one. It doesn't really matter. It's the temporary name that gets assigned to whatever array we pass in. We're going to pass in numbers array when we call this method. We're going to pass in numbers because that's the name of our array up here. And it basically renames it while it processes it. It uses the parameter name as it processes that array. All right. Find highest number. How do we find the highest number when we have a bunch of numbers in an array? Well, the first thing we do is we assume that the first number is the highest number. So let's talk about this for a minute. I am going to assume that 25 is the highest number. So I have a variable, okay, and I assume that that highest is equal to 25. Then I go through and I look at the rest of the numbers. 10, is 10 higher than 25? No, it's not. So I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to read the next line. Is 45 higher than our current highest? 45 is a higher number than 25. So now I set my highest to be equal to 45. And I check, is 40 higher than 45? Nope. And I check this one. Is 50 higher than 45? It sure is. And I check, is 30 higher? No. Is 35 higher? No. 20 higher? No. All the way till I've checked every number in my array. And when I'm done processing that array, this variable called highest is going to be set to 50. So I did that in my text file. I need to make sure that I get rid of all my blank lines and resave this before we start processing this. All right. So let's do that. We're going to set a value to hold the highest integer. So I'll create a variable called highest. And I am going to assume that the first value in my array, which was number array, the first value is number array sub 0. I am going to assume that is the highest number in my list. Then I'm going to process my list. So I'm going to write a for loop. Because when somebody passes in an array here, it might have 5, it might have 50, but we know how big it is because it's got a length property. So in this case, I am going to use it. I'm going to create a counter variable, int I, and I'm going to start it equal to 1. Why am I starting it equal to 1 instead of 0? because I've already taken care of processing the first item, which is item 0. So rather than start again with item 0 here, I could. It really probably wouldn't hurt anything in this case. But why should I look at it to see if it's bigger than itself? We know it's not. So I am going to start with item 1, element 1. And then we're going to count as long as our I is less than the number array dot length. Okay, so right here we don't have to hard code a number. If they pass in an array that has 100 numbers, fine. If they have one with 5, fine. 35, whatever. We're going to use the length of the array so we know how many times to make our loop run. And then we'll increase I by 1 each time. All right, so what are we doing here? We're going to check. As soon as I say check, you should say, oh, that's an if statement. Number array sub I. We're going to look to see if it is greater than our current highest value. Right? So it'll be item 1 first. Is item 1 greater than our highest value? If it is, we're going to replace it. We're going to say that the highest is now equal to the one we just checked. Okay. If it's not greater, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to ignore it, so I don't need to write an else statement. Okay. And that should do it. This should do it for us. With one little issue. Oh, I didn't call it. Let's do find highest. Find highest number, and we need to pass it our numbers array that we had up here. Run it. Yay. Did it work? I don't know. Why don't we know? Because we didn't display it. We didn't display anything, right? And I want to be able to reuse this. I don't want to display it in here. So let's just up here add it to our list box. What did I call my list box? List display. The items. The add. And we're just going to add those results. Whatever this method returned to us, we're going to add that to our display. Now it's immediately coming here and saying cannot convert from void to object. Find highest number doesn't return a value. It's void. So we can't use its value to add it. So we need to make this return. Let's have it return an int. What are we going to return? We're going to return the highest value. Looks pretty good to me now. And we know our highest value should be 50 if it worked correctly. And actually, let's do this. Let's add some notation there so we know. Highest number is 50, and it found that. So let's trace through this and watch it do exactly what we said it would do. So I am going to stop, put a breakpoint right there. We'll start it, we'll run our code. Going to come down here. Our highest value right now is 0 because it hasn't processed this line yet. Okay, now it's processed the line. Remember, it used 25. 25 was the first value in my text document, which I had closed. We had look at numbers array. I can see it right here. We assumed that the highest value was the first number in our array. Now I equals 1. And we're going to process this line. If numbers array sub I is number 1, which is the value 10, if 10 is greater than, and if we hover over highest, is 10 greater than 25? It is not, so we would expect that it would come down here, then repeat the loop. We'll skip the loop block. It is. Increase I by 1. Double check to make sure we haven't exceeded the length. If numbers array sub I, okay, I is equal to 2 at this point. Numbers array sub 2 is 45, so 45 is greater than our current highest, which is 25, which it is. So we're going to run this. We're going to set the new highest number 25 to be equal to the 45 of this one. So now our highest number is 45, and we continue on through our loop. Eventually we'll get down here. 45 will be replaced by 50. I'm going to go through pretty quickly here. And there, 45 got replaced by 50, and we know that for the rest of the times through the loop, nothing's going to change. I'm going to step out, just continue my program, and that gives us the end. So we could watch that algorithm work. Okay. So what if I wanted to find the lowest number, right? I could call this find this lowest number and assume that the first number is the lowest, and then go through and check. Obviously, this would have to look to see if it's less than the lowest value. So change this sign, change the name of a couple variables, and we're probably just fine to find the lowest using the same algorithm.